screaming started at 5:47 a.m. That exact detail, that's the part that stayed with her. Not the blood, not the guns, not the moment she realized she just walked into something that could kill her. No, the time, 5:47 a.m. Funny how the brain does that, isn't it? How it holds onto one small, clean fact when everything else is chaos? Like your mind is trying to give you something solid to grip while the rest of the world is falling apart underneath you. Zoe Mitchell will remember that number for the rest of her life. The way you remember the time you got the phone call, the time the doctor came into the room, the time everything changed. 5:47. She was cutting through the alley behind Morrison Street, same route she always took. 3 years of opening shifts at Rosie's Diner had carved this path into her body. Head down, pace steady, earbuds in, Drake murmuring something low and comfortable in her ears. You know the walk, the one where you're not really awake yet, but you're moving anyway. Muscle memory carrying you while your brain catches up. The city before sunrise, it's a different place. You know that, right? If you've ever been awake in that hour, really awake, not just passing through it, you know what I mean. It's not night anymore, but it's not morning either. It's something in between, something that doesn't have a name. The world holding its breath, the streetlights still burning against darkness. Everything quiet except for the sound of your own footsteps. And in that quietness, you hear things you're not supposed to hear. The scream came first. A man's scream, raw, strangled, wrong. Not a sound that belongs in the world, not something that should come out of a human throat. The kind of sound that makes your blood go cold before your brain even understands why. Zoe stopped mid-step. Her sneakers squeaked against the wet pavement, that little chirp of rubber on concrete that seems so loud in the silence. She pulled one earbud out. Her heart was already pounding, already knowing something her conscious mind hadn't caught up to yet. The sound came again. Muffled but unmistakable, torn straight from someone's chest. And you know what she said? Out loud, to nobody, standing there in that alley? She said, nope, absolutely not. Because she knew, in that instant, she knew. This was one of those moments where the universe is offering you a choice, and both options are terrible. Walk away and live with knowing you did nothing. Step forward and God knows what happens then. She checked her phone. 5:51 a.m. Already running late. One more tardy and Rosie would fire her, had said so explicitly last week, finger jabbing the air between them. Rent was due in 5 days. Zoe had $1,847 to her name. Exactly $1,847, because she'd counted it twice the night before, trying to make the math work, trying to figure out how to stretch it far enough. She should walk away. More firmly, she should walk away. Anyone sensible would walk away. Softer, with something like sadness. Then she heard shouting in Korean, angry, urgent, followed by that wet, unmistakable sound of a fist hitting flesh. Zoe closed her eyes. "Lord, help me," she whispered. "This is not my problem." Another pause. Then, inevitably, her feet were already turning toward the warehouse. The abandoned textile warehouse loomed beside her like a corpse of Los Angeles's industrial past. 4 stories of decay and forgetting, broken windows like missing teeth, chain link scents torn open like a wound. Everyone in the neighborhood knew it was there. Everyone ignored it. Everyone knew better. Zoe squeezed through the torn section of fencing and stepped into the courtyard. Broken glass everywhere, weeds pushing through concrete, the building rising above her, dark and patient, like it had been waiting. She turned on her phone's flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, casting motes of dust and shadows that moved wrong. She found a broken window and climbed through, landing softly on concrete inside. The smell hit first. Rust, mildew, something rotten underneath it all. Organic, wrong, the smell of things that should be buried. The screaming had stopped. And somehow, that was worse. Her stomach twisted as she moved deeper into the building. Every sound echoed too loudly, her breathing, her footsteps, the creak of her jacket. Every shadow felt alive, watching. Then she heard voices below, men talking, casually, as if nothing was wrong, laughing about something, the sound of a lighter flicking, someone coughing. Normal sounds, human sounds, except for the screaming that just stopped. Metal stairs led down into the basement. Zoe's instincts were screaming at her now. Every animal part of her brain that evolution designed to keep her alive was howling at her to run, to get out of this place and never come back. But she descended anyway. Slow, careful, one step at a time. At the bottom, she pressed herself against a concrete pillar, killed her flashlight, let the darkness swallow her. And she looked. 4 men stood in the basement, Korean, expensive suits that looked wrong in this place, too clean, too crisp, like they'd been transplanted from a different world. Guns at their sides, not in holsters, just there, casual, like accessories, like wallets. And behind a heavy metal door, breathing. Labored, wet, painful. The sound of someone trying very hard not to die. 2 of the men left, climbing the stairs, laughing about something. Zoe barely breathed as they passed within feet of her. So close, she could have smelled cigarette smoke and cologne, could have reached out and touched them. They didn't see her. That left 2. One older man, smoking, leaning against the wall like he had all the time in the world. One younger man guarding the door, hand resting on his gun, looking bored. Zoe's pulse roared in her ears. Now or never. She found a chunk of broken concrete on the floor, hefted it. It was heavy, real weight, solid. She looked at the 2 men, looked at the door, looked at the concrete in her hand, and she threw it. It struck a metal type across the basement with a thunderous clang that echoed like a church bell in the darkness. Both men reacted instantly, guns drawn, barking orders in Korean. The younger one rushed toward the sound, weapon raised, flashlight cutting through the dark. Zoe ran. Not away, toward. She reached the door, threw the bolt open with shaking hands. It was stiff, rusty, fought her. She dove inside, just as shouting erupted behind her, slammed the door shut with behind her, threw the bolts back into place with a metal shriek that made her ears ring. Then she turned around. Her flashlight had rolled across the floor. Its beam illumined him. A man, chained to the wall. Blood. Everywhere. His face was swollen beyond recognition, lips split open, one eye completely shut, puffy and dark, the other eye barely open, but conscious, aware. Heavy industrial chains locked his wrists to bolts driven deep into the concrete. His shirt was torn, soaked dark. His breathing came in short, painful gasps, the sound of broken ribs, collapsed lungs, internal damage. He looked barely alive. until he saw her. Then something flickered across his face. Shock, confusion, hope. "Hey," Zoe said, breathless, adrenaline making her voice shake. The door shuddered as someone slammed into it from outside, metal screaming, voices shouting, fists pounding. The man's one working eye focused on her. "Run," he rasped, his voice destroyed, barely human. "They'll kill you." "Not with you." Another pause. Let that decision land. She examined the chains, professional locks, heavy duty, the kind that don't break. No key, no weakness. But the bolts in the wall, old, rusted, the concrete around them crumbling.